Hi, welcome to another series of Tim's Wild Kitchen. We're up here again in northeast Scotland. You have historic Banffshire behind me, and it's a tricky time of year. It's very early March. We might be in for a few rabbits. We're going to try and do a bit of ferreting. There might be a few pigeons. We're going to have to see how it goes. You never know, but what I do know is that whatever we do get, we'll end up making something thoroughly delicious from it that represents a huge amount of respect for the animal that we've taken and the fantastic landscape from which it came. Right, everyone, this is Allan. Allan is a rabbiting legend, okay? We've got the best ferrets in the whole of Banffshire here, or we hope we've got the best ferrets in the whole of Banffshire here, and we're very excited about today, but we've got a few things we need to talk about before we get going. Firstly, rabbit population. Now, 10 years ago, hundreds of rabbits, 20 years ago, thousands of rabbits.
Thousands.
And these days?
Oh, they're getting scared, but there is pockets.
Yeah.
There is pockets coming back, but as soon as you come back to level, mixomatoses just come in and that's it.
Okay.
The nature controls it.
Yeah.
Now they're doing that kind of figure.
So they've got a lot of things against them now as well,
Yeah.
haven't they? You've got the mixomatosis, the RHD disease that came in from Europe, more predation from the air.
Oh, more predation.
Yeah.
Well, there's too many buzzers now and there's not enough food for everybody.
Okay. And then, you know, so not as many rabbits as there used to be, but in places where there are a lot of rabbits, they still need controlling, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's our aim today, is to try and control some of these rabbits. When we're doing that, we must observe the 3 rules of shooting with ferrets, okay? Because traditionally you take ferrets out, you go out with nets, long nets and short pocket nets.
Bog nets as well.
Yeah, and the ferret goes down the, is that like a ferret? It sort of goes down the rabbit hole like that. Now, ferrets don't have amazing eyesight, is that right? But they can smell.
No, when they smell, you'd be unbelievable how fast they go when they start smelling a rabbit.
So they go from this to that sort of thing. Amazing. And the 3 rules of rabbit ferreting with a shotgun is a bit different, isn't it? Because sometimes a rabbit will come and sit by the burrow.
Yes.
Don't shoot that one.
Don't shoot that one, because the ferret will be right behind it. Or maybe the ferret has a hold of it even.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because the rabbit knows there's something wrong and he's coming to the edge of the burrow to get away and he's just watching, so, and the ferret often catches him there.
Okay, so no shooting the rabbit there.
At the hole.
So the first rule of ferreting is no shooting the ferrets, the second rule of ferreting is no shooting each other, and the third rule of ferreting is no shooting the dog. As long as we stick to those 3 things, we should be okay.
Exactly.
The 4th rule of ferreting is try and hit the rabbits.
Well, sometimes there's a problem here, but really good fun, really good fun.
The first time I met Allan, the first words he said to me were, "the head's at the other end." Okay, so hopefully we won't be that bad today. We'll get on all right, and we've got Emily shooting as well, who we know is lethal. So
good.
We should be all right. Okay, let's go and find a rabbit hole.
Right, okay, yeah, bother.
With ferreting is you get very excited the second the ferrets go down. Sometimes you get action almost straight away, rabbits bolt straight out. Other times, particularly if you're making a lot of noise, they'll sit underground for a while. Sometimes it takes the ferrets a while to find the rabbits, sometimes it takes you a while to find the right hole, because the rabbits have day burrows as well where they lie up during the day, and that can look like a little... You stay where you are, Allan, yeah. So, that way. Emily, he's right behind that bush, yeah? Okay. So sometimes it will take a while for the ferrets to find the rabbit, sometimes it will take a while for them to chase them out of the hole. Sometimes you put a ferret down a rabbit hole and suddenly they're everywhere. But the difficult thing is remaining aware and prepared for a long period of time when nothing's happening. You can get very tired very quickly if you don't sort of keep focused on it, or if you focus on it too much. So you've got to try and keep a good level of awareness, be ready without, staring at the rabbit hole waiting for it to happen. Otherwise you just get knackered and then you can't hit anything. Not that I hit anything anyway, but...
Yes?
Yeah. So it's a good shot in terms of getting the rabbit, but it was definitely a body shot rather than a head shot. So that won't be the best culinary rabbit I've ever shot, but success nonetheless. First hole, rabbit down, good start. Move along, try the next hole. Just trapped under the stones, I think. There you go. She's eaten. Now this is a perfect culinary rabbit because it's been killed by a ferret. Actually it's killed by Allan as the ferret was trying to drag it back down the rabbit hole. Beauty. I don't like them getting away, Emily. What was that, Alan? Sorry, missed that. That's not what you were saying, is it? You were saying that was a lucky shot. He's a fluky bugger. Alan, right by you, can you? Oh, you're joking. You're joking me. Oh my god.
You get that on film?
I hope so. Yeah. I've never seen a rabbit run so slowly past me. I mean, I've got lots of excuses. My best excuse at the moment is that my fingers are so cold that they're not working. But that was ridiculous. I'm not actually sure how that rabbit survived. I must have shot underneath it. I expect the footage will fill me in as to how I managed to get that one so badly wrong. So this is the one that was running full tilt about 30 yards away and I absolutely bowled it over. It would appear I can't hit them when they run slowly. So, not a bad morning, 8 in total.
Good morning.
I think it's fair to say we missed a few, well 1 or 2 anyway, but we've done very well. We've saved the grass for the sheep because we've killed a lot of potential future rabbits that were going to eat all the grazing. So we've kept the farmer happy. Are you happy, Alan?
I'm delighted, right? Delighted.
Oh,
It was
excellent.
a good short morning, I think.
And what's your favourite way to eat rabbit?
Casserole.
Casserole, rabbit casserole.
Right.
On the bone or off the bone?
No, on the bone.
On the bone.
Neeps,
Okay.
carrots, onions.
Neeps, carrots, onions. Now neep is a Swede, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'll bear that in mind. Have you ever smoked a rabbit?
I think I tried smoked rabbit at Schoon Game Fair.
Oh, okay. The livers I'm going to make a nice little dish with as well, with a smoky red pepper sauce on it.
Oh, good, good.
And we might make a rabbit Scotch pie. Do you think that's allowed?
Oh,
Aye. No, I'm not going to get turfed out of Scotland for making a rabbit Scotch pie.
no.
Brilliant.
No.
All right. Well, listen, Alan. Thank you very much. Look forward to the next time.
Right.
Cheers, pal.
Thank you.
Well, managed to shoot a few rabbits at last yesterday, and whilst the meat won't be ready for another 24 hours, it needs to hang for a bit. We've got to skin it. Some of it's going to get brined and cold smoked. The livers can get used straight away, and so that's what we're going to do out here today. Just going to chuck together a very quick little liver sauté dish. We're going to include in that some of this delicious Lower East Side whiskey from the Borders Distillery. That's going to work really, really well to just sort of lift everything up a bit. I've got some wild garlic from the wild, obviously. And actually, I've had rabbit before where the rabbit started to taste of garlic because it's eaten so much wild garlic. We're going to start by sautéing some potatoes. So I'll just let the old pan get a bit warm on the eco zoom there. Make sure it doesn't run out of fuel. They're great, these little rocket stoves, if you've got one. They get hot in no time at all, which is really helpful. I've got a little bit of light olive oil here, and we're going to start with a glug of that in the pan. And once that's almost smoking, I've got a few potatoes here that I've lightly boiled and sliced, so they're just sort of cooked spuds really. We're going to chuck those in and sauté them. A little bit of bacon, and then the livers will go in, and we'll sort of sauté that. It's just all a sort of really easy one pan wonder kind of dish. We'll just let that get a tiny bit warmer. Shouldn't take long on there. Oh, the chickens are getting excited. Right, a few spuds. We don't need all of those. A little bit of bacon. Using some back bacon just to add some fat really. We don't need any smokiness in here because I've made this amazing smoked red pepper dressing. So my little cheaty tinned red peppers have had 2 hours in the cold smoker. I'm just going to chuck them in there. When you take them out of the tin, remember to keep the fluid from the tin. If you want to use, if you're putting the hot smoker on, and I wasn't in this particular instance, but if you're putting the hot smoker on for a few hours, you could just put raw red peppers in there and hot smoke them. They'll be equally delicious. But this is a sort of a quick cheaty sort of workaround really. Anyway, I've got some toasted walnuts, I've got the peppers there, I've got a little bit of stale white bread or some breadcrumbs. I'm just going to chuck those in there. Sherry vinegar, good quality sherry vinegar. You know, there are a few things in life you can get away with cheap versions of. Sherry vinegar is not one of them, hence the small bottle. And then a couple of anchovies. You could just put salt in if you like, but I prefer to use a couple of anchovies. The savouriness that comes from the little bit of fishiness is great. Wash my hands. Dry. Now this is very, very good olive oil, which will make it really peppery and punchy. but I don't want tons and tons and tons of it. So if it looks like I'm going to need loads more, then I'll top it up with a little bit of lighter oil so it doesn't become too intense. Fluid from the tin peppers. So far so good. Lid goes on, onto the whizzer. Quick whiz like that. Give it a little taste, make sure you're happy with the seasoning. Rare to get it bob on first time. It wants tiny little drizzle more vinegar, and then I'll be very happy with it, I think. Clean spoon. Delicious. And that's it. Pour it out, stick it in a squeezy bottle or pop it in a little tub. The perfect dressing. We're going to use it for some sautéed rabbit livers, but really this smoky red pepper dressing, perfect for any sort of barbecued item, or even just to chuck on a salad with a bit of mozzarella or something. Easy one. We're going to put some of that on the top, some wild garlic and some rocket as well. So just a really easy, you know, simple sauté dish. We'll just get a little bit of colour on those potatoes. So once I've got a little bit of colour on my tatties and my bacon, I'm literally just going to tip them out onto a plate. Let the pan get nice and hot again. And that's when we're going to hit it with the livers and a little bit of whiskey and some wild garlic, some chili flakes. Oh, it's going to be delicious. I've got some finely chopped red onion here as well. You see, I've got all my prep done. If you are going to cook outside, you know, we could be in the field cooking. If you do that, it's good to have all your prep done, because faffing about with chopping boards and bits and pieces is a pain in the bottom. And then I've got this amazing thyme. It's a lemon scented thyme. It's absolutely beautiful stuff. Look at that. That's from the garden. We'll use a bit of that too. So, little whizzle around with that bit of oil, make sure it's nice and hot. And then, where's my livers gone? Oh, here. Tiny bit of salt on my livers, not too much. Beautiful pink, bright red, really lovely little rabbit livers there. Absolutely perfect, super healthy, really fresh, straight from the rabbits yesterday. They're gonna go in there. Now, we don't want to overcook liver. It's one of those things, it won't thank you for being overcooked. It will go really irony. So we don't want it sort of blood red with these rabbit livers. We want to give them a good bit of heat. So a little bit of onion in there, a little bit of thyme, nice lemony thyme. Put a bit more of that on at the end. And then I've got a bit of this wild garlic too. I'm just going to tear a few leaves up, chuck them in there. Tiny, tiny little drizzle more oil. That's going nicely. And once it's sort of nicely sealed up like that, I'm going to add a little pinch of chili flakes. Not too much, we don't want loads and loads of heat in there, more of a seasoning. And then we're going to put a little dash of this this nice whiskey in here, just a little bit. We'll just sauté those with that. Hopefully it'll cook off quite nicely, not be too, you know, we don't want the raw alcohol flavour in there. We just want some nice undertones from the wood and the sweetness in the whiskey. We also don't want to cool the pan right down with a load of moisture, so it's just, you know, nicely in there. Get those flavours going. And at this point, when the livers are starting to firm up a little bit, we're just going to slow the whole heat process down a bit. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of butter. Just a a nice knob of butter like that, help keep everything moist. And then I'm going to pop the spuds back in with the bacon. They're going to warm back up nicely if they've cooled down slightly. Oh, I love a little one-pan saute, you know, just so easy. Chuck everything together. Takes a bit of cookery, you know, you've got to get it right. We'll let that just have one more minute, then we'll rest it. Now, livers, if we were just to plate this up, what would happen is, because we haven't overcooked the livers, they'll just, as they rest, they'll let out a little bit of sort of bloody fluid, which is fine, it's not going to hurt, it's not going to do any damage, but I'd rather that happens in the pan where it can keep everything moist rather than bleeding out onto the plate and making it look rubbish. So I'm just going to leave it for 1 minute to just rest up, do its thing. Add a few more leaves of that lovely fresh lemony thyme to it. Smells amazing, whiskey and rabbit and oh, delicious. I'm just going to have a cheeky bit, see if it's all right. Oh, delicious. Now I put a few capers in, I squeeze the brine out of them so they don't take over, and I'm going to leave these chunky capers whole so that you only get, you know, the odd spike of caper flavour coming in. That's going to be delicious. And then, as if this wasn't, you know, already an easy dish, we're going to add a couple of extra things at the end. So I'll pop them on the plate there, ready to go. Of course, you know, once you get to this point, you can do all sorts of stuff. You could chuck a couple of eggs in there, you know, fry it up into a kind of a sort of broken omelette. You could chuck some breadcrumbs in it and have like crunchy breadcrumbs. You could put some cheese on the top. I've got some nice washed rocket here, so I'm just going to put a little bit of fresh rocket on the top. And then it would not be complete without the Bradley smoked red pepper dressing with its lovely slight bitterness from the walnuts, sweetness from the red peppers. Whoa. So, if you are hesitant about eating the offal from your rabbits, don't be. As long as it looks healthy, it's nice and clean and bright, and there's no obvious signs of, you know, greenness or parasites or anything like that. Nice and fresh, use them up. A little dish like this is absolutely perfect. It's no hassle, it's not like making a pate, taking all that time. Just 5 minutes, put the dish together, job's a good one. This is basically a delicious, amazingly tasty, sautéed rabbit liver thing that I thought was going to be really simple and ended up having basically a whole table of ingredients in it, but it's really nice. It's flambéed with a bit of the old, well, not flambéed, but, you know, deglazed with a little bit of the old lovely Lower East Side whiskey. Fresh Scottish bunny rabbit livers, hard won after a day's ferreting with shotguns. Well, no, whenever you video a chef eating something that he's made, it's never going to go, oh, that could do with a bit of seasoning. Actually, it's totally delicious. This red pepper dressing is like a seasoning all of its own. And it's so easy to make. I hope you give it a go.